I'm okay.
Yeah, okay, that's on camera one. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't answer this kind of question, but I'm going to because I don't know. You asked, but you should let a writer should let others answer these kinds of questions for him. But just because it's the election season, I'll answer it for you. The the main scene happens after he falls into what may or may not be foibe. So it's a very simple. I'll just read briefly. What I recall is one side of the Earth seeming to ride up into and over a facing side, a sort of post-dehiscence, a simulacrum of deep tectonics, where the two sides met a scar, unhealed, a seam, a maw. I was walking swiftly when the Earth ate me alive. Dober chair. That's Slovene for good night. So, uh, was my intention when he's in there, when he's in with the skulls, in the foibe, if it is a foibe, and he's in with the skulls, he has to decide because he's a historian and he knows all about the Uskoki pirates and their battles with the Venetians. Is he in a cavern of skulls that are dead Venetians, which we would like to think, or because we would like to think that because he's anti-empire, and he compares the Venetians' agile and dangerous capitalism with the predominant, the prevailing Western economic system. So, yeah, you'd like to think that they're dead Venetians, but he has them as he reasons that they're dead Uskoki, arrayed by the vengeful, avenging Venetians in about 1608. The Uskoki were on their way out. They'd had their century, so to speak. Um, and why choose the imperial power? Well, the thing is, the comment. If you this is what you're asking me, and so I'll tell you, and I know this won't go down well, but the foibe phenomenon, uh, the bitter memorial of the foibe Basavica, in particular, these are not memorials of the people. These are memorials of the state, and they are meant to work as a sort of um, centripetal force to take all of the evil doings of one side in the war and to make them one big, strong, powerful, symbolic force. And so now, in the imagination of the people who have little or no knowledge of what the foibe the foibe phenomena are, it's the vengeful Yugoslavs throwing Italians down into a hole, when in fact there are holes all over the karst, and people have been throwing people in these holes for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. And the events that happened in '43 that involved much more than Yugoslavs throwing Italians into holes. The first people to throw people into foibe were probably Germans in 1943. Who did they throw in? Probably a lot of Italians, probably a lot of Slavs as well. And in '45, to skip, probably a lot of Germans were thrown in, and also a lot of Italians, yes, and also by Yugoslavs, and they are horrific things that happen to a few thousand people, and it's not that I am saying that they didn't happen, that it wasn't to a large degree or even a majority degree a victimization of Italians, but it is used by the state to to veil what Slavs suffered, Slovenes suffered. For instance, there, a couple of holes in the ground called the foibe are a lot easier to memorialize than um, dozens of burned and villages, bombed out villages, burned villages. How many villages were burned after Mussolini um, went to Gorizia and said, we got to start burning villages because of the partisans? Um, what about 20 years of a kind of a slow genocide that occurred here? And I'm not saying that this makes any of it right. I'm just saying that the tendency, the need of the state to obscure what a major part of its history so that people who actually live in Trieste never learn the full history. They learn it only as the outmigration of Italians under the lash of Yugoslavs and the tossing of Italians into holes by giant Yugoslavs. It's a cartoon version, and that's what the state propagates. So yeah, if I mentioned it in my book, all of that would be somewhere in my mind. It wouldn't, if a graduate student wrote about my book in terms of history, uh, that might or might not come up. I have no idea. But does it inform the way I look at things? Sure, it does. But it's not a pro-Slovene or pro-Italian book. It's an anti-imperial book, an anti-demagogue book, an anti-nationalist book. If you look at it in terms of politics, it's pro-human, and that's that.